Margaret. Yay.
Hi.
So viewers, as you guys pop in, let us know who you are and where you are watching from. And make sure that you share this broadcast out because Margaret's gonna give it to you. She don't play around. She just tells it how it is. She definitely speaks fiercely. So tell the people, let them know how we met.
So we met through the awesome Duran Young. We'll give her credit because if it was not for her, I would not know the great Audra Upchurch. And so we met, and Audra just happened to be the very first person to speak on my platform called Healthy Holy Conversations. And so we spoke about mother issues, and it was a really big thing. I mean, like tearful, crying moments, because she was able to speak to not only her past with her mother, but how her working through her things, her parts, led to a better relationship with her daughter, and actually started to reconnect her to pieces of family that she didn't know. So for me, it's an honor to be on this end, because I was sitting her end when we first met, and Audra has been a light and a guide for me over the last year, and I am honored to be in this upcoming writing because she pushed my story out. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, absolutely. I am honored that you decided to be a part of Fiercely Speaking because I really want this book to be a resource for women who don't know how to speak up for themselves or who have been through so much, they only know how to lash out when they speak. And it's difficult because if I can be frank, can be real, a lot of Black women get put in a box about being angry and that type of thing, right? And
Right.
I think it's important for the world to know where that fire comes from, where that aggression comes from, but then also provide a resource for how you can transfer that aggression to truly speaking fiercely and still getting your point across, but doing it with dignity, class, and grace.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And savage.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
And so for those of you watching, Fiercely Speaking is going to focus on how these amazing, courageous women found their voices in spite of cultural traditions, trauma, and religion. Yeah, we going to go there, right? So Margaret, tell the little people, tell Margaret L Conley, tell the viewers who you are, what you do, and just give them a little bit of insight into the amazingness of you.
So I am a licensed clinical social worker in the greater Atlanta area. Some people may know my hometown, Cartersville, Georgia. So I practice between Cartersville and Atlanta in the metro Atlanta area. And so that's what I do on a daily basis. But I also have a nonprofit. I have a nonprofit that is dedicated to introducing people to spirituality and emotional wellness intertwined. And I'm really big on that because I believe that those who are in minority communities, we cherish, and not just Black women and Black men, but minority communities, we cherish our spirituality. That thing gets us through. It pushes us to our next level, but we do not cherish our emotional wellness or how our mind sits in pain and areas of anguish. And so we don't trust conversation and we don't trust that connection, but our spirituality is still a part of the human experience. And so mending life concepts, we absolutely encourage people to mend their life in a way that's healthy and holy. And therefore comes the Healthy Holy Conversation. The Healthy Holy Conversation looks at faith-based trauma as we move forward on spectrum of how we heal from that and how we reconnect to the human experience and to humanity. And so people will see me wear t-shirts. I make t-shirts. I'm now selling them because I got fussed at a little bit by people. But my t-shirts talk to or speak to the things that inside of the Healthy Holy Conversations we've had, and it's the pinpoint that has come out. So, and that is what we do on that end. So I have a phenomenal small group of people that believe in that vision, and we push it and we go. And that is my passion, not necessarily in the therapeutic chair, but how can we connect those things that have harmed us and hurt us to moving forward in life, and they becoming the tools that we use to show love and kindness to pull other people into their healthy spaces.
You know, I grew up in church, so shocker, right? And I definitely can identify with church hurt. And we talked about this when we had our broadcast on your show when you had me as a guest. It's really difficult for most people, and this is in any race, honestly, to talk about church hurt.
Yes.
Because it's almost considered blasphemy to talk about it, to speak on it, and to react to it. But unfortunately, when people don't address it, it affects everything in their life.
And I think to just address that piece, because we label it church hurt, because that's what my faith tradition is, Christianity. So we label it church hurt. But faith-based trauma, I found out, and just working in this space for the last 5 to 10 years, that you find it in all spiritual centers.
Wow.
Raw. We even seen Megan Good recently say she withdrew from the church because of all of the secondary trauma, not necessarily her personal trauma, but the secondary trauma she experienced. She was tired of hurting for others because the church no longer was a healing center.
Wow.
And withdrew from church. And she's married to like Devon Franklin, I think is his name.
She's married to a minister, right?
Yeah, she's married to a minister, and she said, I can't manage this pain.
Wow.
We're not addressing the pain. And even when we spoke, how do you address watching a young woman suffer? How do you even abuse the moment of her suffering?
Right.
And then leave her in spaces to be vulnerable and unhealthy in her vulnerability, and watch her suffer through this pain, and then expect her to say, oh, well, church, you did a great job.
Right.
No, church did not show up as a community. Right. And that happens more often than not.
You know, I wish, and first of all, I love that term, faith-based trauma. Somebody put that in the comments, faith-based trauma, because I think that's a topic we need to talk about freely. We need to be made to feel that it's okay to address even the ugly issues and to stop pretending. It's cute to go to church all dressed up on Sunday and looking nice and dapper, and that's great, right? But if on the inside, everyone sitting on the pews is broken, right, and there's no healing in sight, that's a problem.
Absolutely.
So we should be able to talk about that freely. Now, one of the things I definitely want to point out is that Margaret L Conley is a therapist. So she has a unique perspective. So those of you that aren't following her, make sure that you stick around for the rest of the broadcast. She's going to tell you how to keep in touch with her. But before we get to that, I want you to share a little bit about your chapter, Margaret, just a little bit to get the folks, get their mouth watering, and make sure you share with them the title of your chapter as well, in Fiercely Speaking.
The title of my chapter is called Tinkering Symbols. And it's to show a guide or to show a perspective of how to pull people back through love in their hurt. And so my uncle, I give the funny piece, so y'all will read it. But my uncle, we're Southern, so if any of my drawl comes out, y'all can put in the comments like, oh my gosh, she has got to be from the South. Yes, she's from the Atlanta area. So my uncle is the epitome of a Southern Black man. And so he, the scripture that I came from was from 1 Corinthians. And so it says that there are tinkling symbols, which means they're making noise. But he said, you guys, he looked at me and my cousin one day and said, y'all like tinkering symbols. So to tinker with something means to try to make it fix or to work. And so for years in my mind, I thought, well, we got to make this sound work on this symbol in order to express love. When I grew up, of course, I studied and I realized, no, it's just, you can be loud and no one can hear you. And so my chapter is speaking to the resilience of me in my childhood when I was so loud that no one could hear me. And so I grew up in an abusive home with two parents that loved me the best way they could. And they only understood the pattern of abuse. And so they raised me in that way. But I also was deep into my faith community that could not hear me screaming and could not see through all the loudness what was wrong. And so I'm hoping that this chapter will help that woman that is still stuck in that adolescent space between the ages of 15 to 18, where the community itself could not hear her screaming. And in my age group, it was an increase of sexual abuse and physical abuse and emotional abuse in the 80s and 90s, where women themselves were not heard in church spaces and they were not heard in communal spaces. And so now women are holding that in their bodies. We find it to be high blood pressure, heart disease. We find it to be cancer. We find it to be so many things that if we could just be real with ourselves and own what it was, we were not heard, then maybe we can hear ourselves still screaming. And so that is what the chapter speaks to and invites the reader to start to examine those spaces and give apology where apology is needed. And real apology isn't saying I'm sorry for something you could not prevent. It could be a real apologetic moment is, girl, I knew you were screaming, and now in this 40-year-old body, I still hear you. Let's work on it. And showing up for yourself in this space of healing through the hurt, through love. Because love does cover a multitude of sin, and not saying that it's a sin for you not to care for yourself, but in this regard, love covers a multitude of the way we disconnected from the God of our understanding and seeing ourselves in a godly space and seeing ourselves in this image of God, which is healthy and holy. And so that is what this chapter speaks to. And I hope that it touches women and even the men who may read, to be okay with telling your story and showing that it is a beautiful space to heal and be able to speak to trauma that may have happened, but you have overcome the trauma and moved on with your life.
Whew, she done dropped so many nuggets. Oh my gosh. First of all, somebody put in the comments, healing is beautiful. Healing is beautiful. And something else you said just resonated with me. And I think a lot of the viewers can relate to this, that you can be loud, you can be yelling and screaming, but no one hear you.
Right.
Because it's so loud, no one hears you, no one receives it. And the way Margaret laid out her chapter so eloquently, she's going to be able to help so many women awaken their extraordinary voice. And I am honored that you decided to take that chance and share your story and do it in such a powerful, fierce way. So let the viewers know what's next for you. What's on the horizon for you?
So the Healthy Holy conversation has picked up. So I get invited to speak now often, which I'm still getting used to that. So in coming out of my therapeutic space and able to combine and merge this thought of gathering parts through spirituality and emotional wellness. So I have an upcoming conference that will be in Atlanta where I'm co-hosting a conference on the state of the Black church and mental health. Very, very excited about that because the Black church does not want to talk about what's going on.
Can we talk about that? Oh, my girl.
And what happens is we're afraid to, because it's as if we are saying God messed up or we don't trust God to help us, but that is not it. The Bible, because I'll use that's the book I know the most. And so the Bible states that if we can keep our mind stayed on God, then we can stay in perfect peace. And so I see that in this. If we can keep our mind stayed on God and see ourselves in made an image of God, into the God of your understanding, then you stay at peace because you don't sit in spaces of comparative suffering. You don't sit in spaces where you are trying to be something that you are not. You own who you are and you embrace every part of who you are. So I always tell people I embrace the smart part, the ratchet part, the goofy part. I embrace all of the because they make up Margaret L Conley. And so even the little girl that's hurt, I hug her. I love her and I say, hey, it's safe now. We are fine. And I know that you need this embrace. We're afraid to do that in the Black church because if I bring you into this, if I bring hurt into this space, I may not be seen. This is almost like the man that was sitting at the pool of Bethesda. Like I keep trying to get there and the water keeps getting troubled and other people keep getting healed, but I can't seem to get myself there. Right. The Black doesn't know how to receive Jesus or receive the healer when the healer shows up and says, pick up your mat and walk. It's questioned. Right. Been able to pick up my mat ever. So who are you to tell me to do so? So when you bring things like this in healing spaces to Black community, it's often shunned. And so I'm hoping that we will have people to come and be receptive to understanding church and LGBT community, understanding church and sexual identity along with sexual abuse, and understanding church in spaces of even marketing. Like even church is afraid to market themselves.
I know
who they are. Yeah, you know. So you're a church and you do a lot of stuff. So we try to cover everything because that messes with the psyche. Like I'm not supposed to be able to be worth anything because I'm giving it all to Christ. That's not what that means. Like Christ absolutely saw the worth in Christ. And so see the worth in yourself. Down to even talking about what does it look like for pastors to hold the weight of congregation and be able to cast that back to God and to the God of understanding.
Wow.
How do we help our leadership realize that they don't have the ability to hold that weight? Corporate America does it all the time. They call it EAP, or employee assistance programming.
Right.
I can't hold your weight, and so I'm going to send you to some place that's professional. So what do we do in that? And that is what we're speaking to with this emotional wellness, our mental health component of the African American church. It is okay for us to commune together, even if it doesn't look like what community you think it should be. It is all right that we sit and we gather and we understand that, all things are collective, and we do all things together, because that brings healing.
Girl, listen, I'm so excited for what you're doing, because a lot of it's going to be so groundbreaking. And I want to encourage you to stay the course.
Yes.
Stay the course. Even when it gets difficult, even when nobody understands, even when, your circle gets smaller and smaller, even when people tell you you don't have a right, stand up and continue to speak fiercely and know that you have a place and that there is something that is divine for you to share, for you to do. You receive that?
I do. I want to do it. I receive it. I receive it. Yes.
So guys, make sure you're staying connected with Margaret L Conley. Margaret, can you let the viewers know how they can get more information, stay connected to you beyond this broadcast?
Yes. So you can find me at Margaret L Conley, LCSW MDiv on Facebook. That's my professional page. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Mending Life Concepts, and it's mending_life_concepts. And you can find me there. Those are the places where I show up the most. And so I want you to see me there, and be there and participate in conversation, because I normally put up something and people, they're afraid to answer it. I even had somebody tell me last night, I don't know how to answer the question because I feel like I'm a part of the group of people that may be bringing harm. So can you help me? And I'm like, no problem, because we all are sitting in spaces where we don't understand. So please follow, please engage the conversation. And I will be here still doing the same thing, being savage and savvy about it, speaking healthy and holy, and encouraging people to walk in who they are.
I love it. Yay. So guys, make sure you're following Margaret on Instagram. That's mending_life_concepts. And then on Facebook, it's Margaret L Conley, LCSW. Did I get that right?
LCSW, Master of Divinity. So you see MD.
I love it. I love it. And yes, and congratulations on all that you're doing. You're doing amazing work. Keep moving forward. Hey guys, there can be healing even from faith-based trauma. Now that replace the church hurt word and call it faith-based trauma, which is what it is. And there can be healing to be found in that. Make sure you pick up your copy of Fiercely Speaking when it's released and read Margaret's chapter. She is going to share so much information with you guys that it's going to be life-changing. And also to stay abreast of when Fiercely Speaking hits the newsstands, when it drops, when it's on your news feed. Make sure you're a part of Mastering Meaningful Manuscripts, because we will keep you posted there. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a great day, guys. And make sure you connect with Margaret L Conley, because she's going to change your whole life. Have a great day. Love you guys.